3 months ago, I said the 49ers have no shot at the playoffs. Now we're one game away from the Super Bowl. I've never been happier to be wrong. Let's get into it. Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. It's your boy Shifty. This one's going out to Niner fans near, far, NFL fans, sports fans. You know, you're all welcome here. Today we are talking and previewing the matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams in the NFC Championship game. A chance to go to the Super Bowl. Whew, it's gonna be a good one. Alrighty, so the last time that these two teams met, it was week 18 of the season. Of course, we had the birth of the butt counts when Ambry Thomas picked off Matthew Stafford in overtime. The Niners won that one, of course, 27-24. What a great game. It was the second meeting of the season. Earlier in the year, we met on Monday Night Football, I believe. And we just destroyed the Rams. I believe the final score was 31-10. The Niners have beaten the Rams 6 times in a row, believe it or not. And we're going for lucky number 7. Now, as we all know, it's really, really difficult to beat a team 3 times in the same season. And look, the Rams are a very, very good football team. You know, here's the thing for me as a 49er fan. Am I confident going into the game? Pretty confident, but am I cocky? Certainly not. You just have to look at the Rams roster, look how they're playing, and realize that this is going to be a really tough matchup, even though both of these teams know each other really well. So just look at some of the big names on the Rams roster. I mean, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham. You have on the defense Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. So these guys, there's all-star players. Von Miller. I almost forgot about Von Miller. You know, they have all-star, all-pro caliber guys top to bottom in their roster. And, of course, the game is in SoFi Stadium. You can argue whether that's a home field advantage. But the Niners really have the work cut out for them. Now, here are some positives really going into the game for the 49ers because both teams are coming off a couple of really big wins. You know, the Rams just beat the Buccaneers, and before that, they just destroyed the Cardinals. We've obviously had big wins against Green Bay and then against Dallas, who were 2 very high-powered offenses. And, of course, we just beat the LA Rams 3 weeks ago. So, a couple of big things I think that's going to affect this game for the 49ers in a very positive way are some of the guys that we're going to have in this game that we didn't even have week 18. Trent Williams, it's going to be iffy whether he's going to go for Sunday, but if he does go, last time we trotted out Colton McKivitz, who played a heck of a game week 18, but, you know, Trent Williams is arguably the best left tackle in football. We also get a couple of guys back in the secondary, K'Wan Williams being a big one who can help cover those slot receivers. And then it looks like Ambry Thomas, who did play week 18, but Ambry Thomas should be good to go. He's been a full participant. Not only that, Garoppolo is actually completely off the injury report. If we think back to week 18, that was the first game when Garoppolo had that wrap on his thumb, so he should be able to sling the ball a little bit better too. Okay, so speaking of Garoppolo and the 49ers offense, I feel like we have to feel pretty good about ourselves heading into this game. You know, a lot of things didn't work in Green Bay. I think that came down to the weather conditions there. Garoppolo with his stats looked dreadful, but he actually made some really, really nice throws in that game. Now, how is the offense going to go in this one? I predict that we are going to have a game plan where it's going to be a lot of George Kittle. The last matchup that we had with the Rams week 18, Kittle had 5 catches for 10 yards, which is just almost unheard of. It's crazy to think that, that even a guy like Kittle can have that many catches and so few yards just because he's so good after the catch. But of course, in that game, Ayuk stepped up, was amazing. Jawan Jennings had a huge game. Debo, of course, had that big catch towards the end of the fourth quarter, and of course, did everything in that game, ran for scores, threw touchdown passes just everywhere. But I think this is going to be a George Kittle game. The Rams linebackers are very mediocre at best. Their defense is not so great over the middle of the field. We did see, even against Green Bay, that we were able to get Kittle open over the middle a couple of times. Kittle did have a pretty bad drop early on, but then later in the game had some nice catches. But I think we get Kittle a lot more involved in this game compared to Week 18. The Rams, of course, it's going to be natural board. They're going to think, Ayuk had over 100 yards last game. We got to shut him down. Hey, Jawan Jennings, he was really impactful in the Week 18 game. Oh, Debo Samuel, of course, he's everywhere. So I think George Kittle will be a huge focus for the 49ers in the passing game. Now, with that being said, the 49ers, we have to be able to do what we do best, which is run the football on first down and get those positive yards. Don't allow Jimmy to be put in bad situations. I say this at pretty much every preview, but it's so true. It happens where, Jimmy is prone to mistakes, and if it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, we don't like that compared to 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3. It doesn't have to hold the ball as long, less likely to get sacked, things of that nature, Even with possibly hopefully Trent Williams playing, that Rams pass rush is fierce. So we're going to have to be able to execute plays. But I think if we really have to dominate on the early downs. Elijah Mitchell, we're going to see him early. We're going to see him often. Of course, we're going to see Debo in the backfield. I really liked a couple of the plays where we ran the ball with the use check against Green Bay. So maybe that's something that we sprinkle in too. But overall, I think Kittle's going to be the focus. We're going to hit him, just like Elijah Mitchell. I think Kittle's going to be the main guy that we target a lot. And of course, Debo and Ayuk and Jawan will probably get their targets. But overall, I'm looking for Kittle to have a massive game. Now, the big question is, for me at least, is Tom Compton at right tackle. He's played pretty darn well filling in for Mike McGlinchey, who's been out for quite a long time. But Tom Compton against Green Bay, he was dominated by Rashawn Gary. Can he bounce back, have a big game, and really help give Jimmy time and then open up some holes in the running game? That's going to be huge. All right, defensively, here's what we have to do. And this is going to be, it's just 49ers bread and butter, what we've been doing ever since Shanahan got here. But for the defense to have a good game and to succeed is the 4 guys on the defensive line. They have to get home, have to cause consistent pressure without having to blitz very often. Here's the thing. Stafford is actually pretty darn good against the blitz, but he's not great against pressure. So the 49ers, we actually don't blitz nearly as much as a lot of the other teams, especially the teams that Stafford has just faced. Arizona and Tampa Bay actually blitz a lot more, whereas we're a team where if you have Armstead, who's just been a wrecking ball the last 3 weeks. Against the Rams, when we met him, 2.5 sacks for Armstead. Armstead's been a wrecking ball. Nick Bosa goes without saying. Ebukam, Arden Key, DJ Jones, Jordan Willis, all these guys, we have such a great rotation. The D-line is really deep. These guys are going to have to get after Matt Stafford. Against the Rams in Week 18, Stafford was very comfortable early on. I didn't like how soft our coverage was early on in that game. It was similar to the first drive against Green Bay where it just seemed that we were kind of like very passive and letting Green Bay do what they wanted. It seemed like against the Rams, especially like the first quarter and a half of that game, Week 18, that we just let them kind of do their thing. Maybe we do have to sprinkle in some blitzes. Now and again, I'd like to see it. But overall, if the 4 guys can get home, that's when we really force Stafford into mistakes. Later in the game, we were able to get pressure. Stafford threw a couple of picks. He was off target. We're going to have to do that consistently throughout the game. Having Fred Warner just come off a really big game where he forced a fumble. Dre Greenlaw, that was, I believe, Greenlaw's first game back from injury. So now Greenlaw's played another 2 games, and he'll be much more back in the flow of like the game, what his responsibilities are. It's natural for any guy who's really really hasn't played much football from week 1 to week 18. They're going to have some rust to knock out, just getting back into like the speed of the game. He should be back there. In the last matchup, Tyler Higbee burned us. Cooper Kupp did as well, but with how Cooper Kupp's playing, there's only so much that you can do against him. So Tyler Higbee, he had 2 touchdowns against us. He really hurt us big time. So I'd like to see guys like Warner, Alshire, and then of course Dre Greenlaw. Those guys maybe contain him a little bit better. But keys to the game, just like we did week 18. Week 18, we held their run game in check. Now, they have Cam Akers back, and he did play week 18, but he only had 5 carries, so expect to see a lot more of Cam Akers. However, the Rams, the last time we met, only had 64 rushing yards for a 2.4 average. We'll need a repeat of that. Force Stafford into those 3rd and longs, get pressure on him with 4, maybe 5 guys, force him into mistakes. So I do like the defense to play pretty darn well in this game. You're never going to shut out the Rams. It's going to be pretty difficult. It's going to be back and forth. They're going to have big plays, especially to Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham. We just have to weather those storms and trust that the offense can score enough and maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, get us to another Super Bowl. So, with all of this being said, I think we all know that a huge chunk of this game for the 49ers is going to land on the shoulders of Jimmy Garoppolo. Do we get good Jimmy? Do we get bad Jimmy? Of course, as Niner fans, we're all hoping that good Jimmy really outweighs the bad Jimmy Garoppolo. It'll be really interesting to see how the Niners offense plays it. Of course, I would love a really fast start, because something that we did week 18, which was so effective, is we saw how they defended us early, then we knew how to attack that later. So we could see, they're going to cover us this way when we try to run this formation. Let's now run a similar formation but a different play altogether, and we can attack them. Now, if we can establish some success early on and then also be able to adjust and attack them later on with success too, I really like our chances. Overall, I think this is going to be a career-defining game for Jimmy Garoppolo. Hopefully, we do get the best of the best from him, a la at the Saints in 2019. But I really like us to come away with a win here. I think it's going to be close. And again, there's going to be ebbs and flows, highs and lows. But at the end of the day, I think the 49ers win. I think we win by the score of 30-24. It's going to be fun. I really hope that you all will join me on Sunday. Quick note about the stream. So I'm going to be going live right at kickoff, maybe even a couple minutes late. Unfortunately, I have work commitments that I can't get out of, but I will be streaming the game. I'll be rushing to get home and ready to go. So I might miss the first couple minutes, but don't worry, I will be going live. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Hopefully the Niners win and we have a little celebration for them going to the Super Bowl, and we'll see how it goes. And, guys, I think you all know what I'm about to say. The butt counts, and we'll catch you on the flip side.